So today I was reading that Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt are really having a go at each other on the divorce things. Interesting that the divorce is done, but now they are contesting custody. And the process, Angelina has filed that the judge is biased because he's been working with Brad's team, so he should be removed. And Brad's team is basically saying that she's trying to delay to get custody. Now here's the interesting thing. Angelina saying during these years, after the divorce, Brad Pitt has not paid any reasonable alimony or child support. Now here's the point. Brad Pitt is worth $300 million and Angelina herself is about $100 million. Most of the children they're fighting over are over 18, the adults. Only 2 children are under 18 who's custody, like 14 and 9, something like that. Why are they making such a bloody fool of themselves? I mean, I can understand Johnny Depp and whatever her name is because they're obviously doped out. But these guys are supposed to be reasonable. Now, what's wrong with people? Why do they do this to each other? Before we get on, before you comment on that, Dennis, I'd like to tell people that Dennis and I have been doing a lot of shows on relationships and breakups and stuff like that. And if you want to see the whole series, we've been talking about kink and cheating and all kinds of stuff. So you got to go back to my webpage, my YouTube channel, Dennis's webpage, YouTube channel, and see the shows. Somebody actually asked me this question: what makes us such an expert on relationships? Well, here's the thing. Dennis has been married a good over 30 years. So that makes him an expert of how to keep a relationship. I have had so many breakups and I've married so many times. That makes me an expert on breakups and relationships. Now, if just because you've had a failed relationship is not an expert. More than even more than Dennis, I know what not to do because he's just been there. You go. I mean, he knows how. You know how to keep a relationship in the good way. I know how to keep a relationship by not doing what I've been doing or what she has been doing or what they have been doing. So that makes us experts. So here we are, relationship experts. Dennis, why the hell do people with so much wealth and so much power and influence make a complete jackass of themselves when it comes to relationships? They go berserk when it comes to relationships. Why, man?
I think it always comes down to ego and emotional pain. And so one of the ways that we take and make our ego feel better when we're hurt, and I don't know all the ins and outs of that situation, but I can say, like, in general, when people get divorced, we can talk about, it's amicable. I've never really seen that. There's always some hurt feelings. There's always some pain that goes through with these breakups. But when you're talking children, listen, as far as logically, it doesn't make any sense. These children are, other than 2 of them, are over the age of 18. So as far as child support, that doesn't happen. Alimony, I don't know whether or not she was awarded any alimony. It just seems like everybody, like, that's just a way for people to take and hurt the other one because they're hurt in some way. So I think it all just comes down to hurt, and it's a way to kind of, assuage our ego a little bit.
You said 2 words, ego and pain. Mm-hmm. I think the second one is useless. It is just ego, because the pain also comes from the ego.
Of course.
Now, I being an expert on breakups, my first breakup was when I was really young. That was the only time I sulked. I grieved for about a week and a half. For about a week and a half, man. Ever since then, and people, especially women, call me cold-hearted. I've been really labeled nasty things because I move on a week before the breakup, and there's a reason I'm saying that.
Yeah.
There's a reason I'm saying that. I'm making a very specific point. If you feel you cannot move on, then you should not be breaking up. You should be making every effort to salvage a relationship, no matter what it takes. Because either save the relationship or get out of it cold turkey. It's like a cold cut, man. If you can't do a cold cut, then why are you having a bloody breakup in the first place? So I actually move on before I break up. Yep. And 100% of the time, I've been the one who's broken up. So I decide I don't want to be here. It's a bad thing. It's a horrible relationship. It's not going anywhere. I need to salvage myself And there's a reason I'm saying all this. I need to save myself. I need to protect myself from a bad situation, something I do not want to work on any longer. And that's when you make the cut. What's the grieving about? I can't understand, man.
Well, I think you bring up an interesting point, and it's something that I actually use in in business, which is that and I think relationships, personal relationships, are very much the same. The worst thing, a lot of times people say, "Oh, at my job, I don't want people to leave my job." The truth is what you don't want is people to quit and stay. And so I agree with what you're saying about the week prior. So before people actually like pack bags and move out and so forth, like if it's in a fit of anger or emotional turmoil, like usually that settles and that sort of thing, and people kind of like get over it and come back together. But for a true breakup, yeah, absolutely. I think what it is too many times in relationships, what I've seen is somebody that people come to like, hey, what can we do? It's usually that one or both of the partners have quit, but have chosen to stay. And so really what we want to think about doing, as far as why do people do this? Listen, I don't know. I think it just comes down to the pain. That pain drives an ego-based response. And then once we get that ego-based response, now it's when we get the arguing, we get the fighting, like in this particular situation that we mentioned. In yours, listen, I mean, I think part of it is that we always are trying that self-preservation part. For me, I think a lot of times we want to come out looking like the winner. Like, we want to look like to our social circle and everything. Because, when you take and you break up, I mean, there's a really good chance that you're going to lose a lot of your friends. You're going to lose a lot of your social circle and so forth. To me, I think you and I are the same in this. It's like, yeah, move on. Like I married this person. I didn't want everything that came with them. So I think for some people it's a little bit easier to move on. And I think that a lot of times those of us that are spectators to a breakup, we sit there and go, man, well, what possibly could have happened? And I think it's just important to remember, like, so much goes on behind the scenes that nobody can really know. So before people start packing bags and actually moving out, dude, they broke up. One partner broke up way before they ever took that action.
Okay, here. No, both partners broke up before one took action and the other never took action.
Possibly,
the reason this whole drama happens is because we need to save face. So one person is saying, "Oh, I did it because the other person was so bad." I think it was my ego and pride talking when I just said 100% of the time I break up. That was I think that was my ego talking. That was my pride talk. I didn't have to say that, but I slipped that in.
That's my point. Yeah, I mean, isn't it kind of the same as? I think it's the same thing as saying, well, I mean, the breakup happened because they cheated on me. Well, now I can get sympathy, right?
Thank you. The one person is taking the higher ground. The other is saying, "Oh, I'm the victim. Yes. I've been dished. I've been destroyed." Now, 100% of the time, I talk to a lot of people, mostly women, who say, this guy, he was horrible. He cheated on me. He moved on. Didn't happen. And then I tried to kill myself. Wait, if he was such a jerk, he left you or you left him, you should celebrate the fact that you got rid of this piece of shit. Why do you want to kill yourself? What a joke. Now, beautiful example, one of my ex situations, we had a common friend, and when we broke up, I moved on. So she would keep going to this common friend of ours and kept weeping and crying and, what an asshole. And for the longest time, she kept saying, one night she was like, hey, why, he's moved on and I will not find another man like him. So my friend finally lost it. He said, you know what, listen, if he was so good, why didn't you do something about it when he was leaving? When you guys were fighting and it was breaking up, why didn't you do Jack do? At that time, you were egotistical about, no, I don't want to do it. Now that he's gone, you're egotistical about, what do I do? So it all boils down to crap ego, man. That's my point.
Right.
Am I right?
Well, and I think you think about this, and when you talk about the ego, I mean, how easy, most people aren't willing to sit there amongst their peer group, and when they're questioned about like, hey, why did you guys break up? Most people are not willing to go, well, because I fucked up. Like literally, that's it.
Yeah.
And so like, but I'm just gonna come out and say, like, in any time there's a breakup, I think we tend to we want to take and assign blame, right? And because once we assign blame, we're trying to absolve ourselves of having any type of role in that. And instead of, what I'm going to suggest is instead of going, oh, I broke up, it's just, hey, it didn't work out. It just didn't work out. Instead of we broke up, because that carries such a negative connotation. And you know, I know today we're talking about what to do after a painful breakup, and we haven't gotten there yet. I think that we have to look at this as though, like, why are we looking to assign blame? How does that make us look better? It doesn't make us look better. It makes somebody else look bad. So, go ahead.
Actually, we smack on the topic.
Yeah.
What we're saying is really the solution, because people are hurting for the wrong reason. They should not be hurting. They need to identify why they're hurting. The moment they identify, then why are you hurting? So the reason I'm stuck on this is the reason, and you know, because people get stuck on the wrong thing. Let's assume you've been dumped. Let's use the word dumped. Someone has dumped you. All right? Why would somebody dump you? One, he or she was not getting from you what they needed. So the fault is yours. You did not identify or communicate what the other person needed, and you did not deliver. Or the other person was just an asshole and he used you and moved on. Well, congratulations. You've just rid yourself of a jerk.
Right.
So either he was or she was fantastic, you were just not good enough or capable of keeping this person. Well, you're at fault. Or this person was horrible. Well, congratulations. Either way, there is no reason to sulk. It's a learning what to do better next time.
Absolutely. No, and I completely agree. And I think what we end up doing is we try to continue on with our same social, cultural, religious, familial expectations. We still try to live up to those. Again, I'm just going to come out and say, when we assign blame, we're trying to absolve ourselves, but we're also trying to place the ownership of something of the relationship and all parts of it. Like, oh, well, it's justified. So think about it. You know, in the world I came from, as soon as somebody said, oh, they cheated on me. Oh, okay. Well, that makes total sense that you would never, like, you would give up your life. You would, like, deny your children their other parent, like all of this stuff. And so it really doesn't make too much sense to me. When we try to assign blame is when we continue on with the hurt. And instead of saying, you know what? We just weren't compatible anymore. We were compatible for a while, and now we're not. They needed, the other spouse needed something that I wasn't able to give. Or vice versa.
Or vice versa, exactly. Or vice versa, yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, that relationship was not making two people better. It was either dragging one person or hurting the other person. There was something not right. It was not, it wasn't a relationship anymore.
Right.
It wasn't a multi-people relate. I'm using multi-people because this whole polygamy thing is becoming, common these days. So, the West is waking up to it. This whole multi-person machine was no longer working. And if it's no longer working, what's the point of dragging it? I mean, you have a flat tire. Why are you driving the car?
Right. Exactly. And I think to that same thing, we also get to a point where it's like, hey, you know what? I've fixed the tire a number of times. How many more fixes does it have in it before you have to replace it? Yeah. And I think that's just, I think that's really, that's a big part of it is I think we just don't want to have to take and look at the way that we have to explain this to other people, because it will be looked at as though it's our failure. And when we do that, that's when we have that, well, I was cheated on. Oh, okay. Well, then you're totally not at fault at all. Even though we're going to try to eliminate with that one statement, what we're trying to do is eliminate everything that led up to that whole situation. And as we've discussed in the past, when you look at an affair, I mean, people either have affairs because they want to, or because something's been broken for a long time, and that's why they're looking in the first place. So it's always we always try to take and assign blame to one side or the other instead of looking at the totality of the situation. I look at it like this. My two dogs, they're bonded. They love each other very much. They're totally attached. They do everything together. And you know what? They fight. There's times they fight. They show their teeth at each other. They'll bite each other's necks, that kind of thing. Humans are the same way. We are the same way. April and I, we love each other very much, have no intentions of ever breaking up. That's not the conversations we have anymore. And guess what? Like the other couple of weeks ago, like we screwed the pooch bad with our communication, and we fought like idiots. So, you know what? But the good thing about that, and we're not going to get into it today, however, we created a new communication technique to try to solve some of these issues, and actually just implemented it yesterday in a business context, and it was fabulous. Absolutely worked amazing. So we'll have to get into that when we talk about communication and relationships here soon, in a few weeks. But as far as breakups, again, once we take it in order to get over it and to move forward, I think what we really have to do is look at, like, one, we have to take and give up the dream. Give up the dream that we once had. We have to reconcile that. Two is that we have to take and make sense of the past. We have to make peace with it, and that includes our own role. I'm going to just come out and say, FQ, maybe not after your first one because you were pretty young, but your second relationship, I'm assuming, was better than your first. The second one, and I understand there might have been like a little outlier in there here or there. As I think you mentioned, one of your relationships was pretty short-lived. However, It still comes down to each one, because you've looked at it as a learning process. I'm assuming that each relationship has gotten better. The same as when we move on to a job. We're moving on to something better where we can grow more. I just think we've gotten too attached, and I'm going to say something that's going to go against my religion and the religion in your part of the world. I don't believe marriage is supposed to be forever. I think it can be, but I don't think it has to be either. So I'm going to say that.
At least my religion says, divorce is a highly it's very, very bad. Don't do it. But if you have to do it, do it. There has to be good justification, reason for doing it. It's not. No, in my part of the world, no. In my religion, a divorce is not the end of a woman or man's life. No, not like Christianity, not at all. Now, okay. You talked about my relationship. I'm going to plug that in here. That was the only time I was dumped. So now, hindsight, thinking back, I'm all of bloody 17, 18 years old. I think that was ego. And I didn't know how to move on. And what healed was that after a week, I very quickly moved on. I was like, wait a minute, that wasn't so difficult. Mm-hmm. Because I was sulking. I was sulking. It was summer break. There was nothing to do, no classes, 1 or 2, 3, 4 hours of classes. And I was all alone in an apartment. And a friend of mine saw me and said, what's up, man? I was like, get out of here, let's go party. And the next thing I know, I had moved on, if you know what I mean. Yep. I moved on. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's the big deal? Mm-hmm. Life does not end there. Right. Even if you have a breakup 2 days before you die, life still does not end with a breakup, man.
Correct.
And if you think your relationship is that crucial and that important for you, you gotta do whatever it takes beyond your bloody ego to hang on to this person. When you say somebody cheats, and whenever somebody comes and tells me, oh, she cheated on me or he cheated on me, the first question I ask is, why? Now, there are two possible answers. Either I did something really stupid for the relationship, so she cheated, or she was a cheater by nature for no reason. Out of habit, she cheated. Well, then thank God I'm rid of her.
Right.
Yeah? So I shared this article on my Facebook a little while ago. This girl in, I think, England or Manchester someplace, married 14 years, fine, great. But during the pandemic, the lockdown, she cheated for 4 months. During the lockdown.
Okay.
Because this new man giving me attention syndrome. That's how she wrote it. New man giving me more attention syndrome. Uh-huh. So now people on the internet's breaking about it. And she's saying, I want to make it up to my husband, and what do I do? And people are saying, you can't be forgiven. Now, here's the thing. The key. Someone's missing the key here, man.
Yeah.
The new man giving me more attention, which basically translates into the old man was neglecting her and not giving her the enough and needed attention.
Right.
I don't put her to blame. I put him to blame that he did not see and realize what she needed. And I put them both to blame that there was no clear communication where she would say, listen, I'm not getting enough attention, and I could falter.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you know, man. Here's the thing, and it's really funny that you're bringing this up, and this is why I'm smiling in my facial expression. Is so last week I had been working with a couple, and I asked one of the partners last week, and I'll just say I'm no longer working with this couple. I got fired, so I got fired, and it's all based on one question that I asked. It's all based on one question that I asked. And here, people always ask me, like, hey, Dennis, what's the difference between, like, a coaching session versus a therapy session? In a therapy session, you can go, oh, like the breakup. And I'm going to go, oh, I feel so bad for you. Like, oh, your feelings are valid. Feelings are valid. In a coaching session, the difference is, so I let people have their say, but here's what I ended up asking, and this is the question that got me fired. How did you pour gasoline on that fire? They're like, what? I said, what is your role in this whole situation? And I got, well, fuck you. That's not my fault at all. I was treated on it. I'm like, well, until we answer this question, you will never move on. This is the question. And they're like, fuck you, you're fired. And I'm like, okay, well, hey, thanks for prepaying. But
you see, now that's the $1 million question.
Until you answer that question.
That's the $1 million question, bro.
Yeah. You'll and even if you don't, like, so you don't answer that question, you get into another relationship. At some point, you will need to answer that question, or you will repeat the same stuff, period. Like, just because I'm not saying, we often, like, we try to make, like, a cause and effect with cheating, with, you know, like, hitting, or, you know, arguing, any of this. Not everything is a cause and effect, except that in every situation, just like in physics, an action has a reaction that's just as equal on every part. And so it doesn't, I think we look at it like, oh, my bad behavior isn't as bad as yours. So now what we're doing is we're putting a value judgment on people's bad behavior. Who's better behaved or not behaved? Instead of saying, you know what, it's just not working out, or how do we get back on the same page? So, like, that's where this performance gap in a relationship, that's where I've seen it happen. But until you can answer that question, and I'm going to tell you, I will continue to get fired because I will continue to ask that question. But until you can answer that, you will never be able to move on. You just won't. You will always repeat it until you can say, how did I personally pour gasoline on this fire? What's my role in this outcome?
Well, I was going to say, nothing in the universe exists which combusts on its own.
Right.
Nothing. Because if anything was self-combustible, it would not exist.
And you need three things for something to combust. You need three things. Heat, fuel, and oxygen. That's it. So you need three things before anything just catches fire.
Any kind of energy destruction or creation, you need to put at least two elements together. You got to mix at least two things, and they have to react, and only then something like this can happen. Okay, shall we jump to comments, man?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I wanna also welcome my friend Javed Ghani. He's a beautiful friend of mine, lovely couple. God bless them. And he said beautifully, there's no such thing as a painful breakup. Relationships are painful, and breakups make you free from all the pain.
Javed, that's beautiful. You're totally correct. It's not the breakup.
The man.
It's the relationship that created the pain. The breakup in many cases is just kind of the icing on the cake, the pain cake, if you will. So outstanding, Javed. Thank you. A pleasure to meet you. Thanks for coming on.
And I want to honor this man. I've known him good, I think, 35 years. He's the man because of whom I am a geek. It is because of him I went into the technology business. It is because of him I learned this whole web development, programming, everything. He's the man who handheld me. He's the one who used to run bulletin boards back in the dial-up days 30 years ago in Pakistan.
Awesome.
He's the man. So Javed, thank you, Javed. Thank you for joining us, man.
Javed, I'm going to just come out and say, with everything FQ just said, it's obvious that you're brilliant. I just question your choice in friends.
Hey, you know what? People should be questioning your choice of friends as well, then, Dennis.
Oh, believe me, they do.
All right, well, Faiza's here, so let's take her first.
Hey,
you can't eat any breakup. You live with it, and life and times lessens the pain. Remember, when one partner says they want out, They have already left the relationship regardless of the reasons. All that is left to do is find yourself again and move on. Brilliant, girl.
Brilliant. Thank you, Faisa.
And she's speaking from experience, by the way. Let me tell you.
Yes. And I just want to say happy birthday to your beautiful daughter. Great job.
Oh God, it's a birthday. She's a Leo. No wonder she's so fantastically beautiful and hot. Oh my God, Faisa, yes, you're right. God, all these people, they've been around me so bloody long, man. They've been around me so long. And thank God for friends I've had for so long. God bless. Thank you. All right, let's go to the top, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they make a fool of themselves with the money. I know, I don't understand. It's not the money. Both Angelina and Brad have tremendous amounts, insane amounts of money. $300 million, $120 million. It's not about the money. No, it's about something else.
I think it's ego and pride, and there's nothing like I'm telling you, man, like spurned lovers. Jeez Louise, they just go after each other. And the crazy thing to me is, like, at one point, these two people, like, devoted their lives to each other. They couldn't see a life without each other, and all this love and everything else. And now it's like, I hate you and I want you dead, and like, it's just terrible. Like, we just turn so quickly. It's just so gross.
How to avoid attachment. Oh, dude, that's a show by itself.
Yeah.
First, we left. I think we've done a show on this, Dennis. Did we?
I don't remember how to avoid attachment. I'm not really sure, because I think I don't know that we can avoid attachment. I mean, that's very complex. I mean, that's almost like I think you can avoid attachment by living in a monastery or something. I just don't know that that's really. I don't know that that's part of humanity. It's part of the human condition is to attach.
Well, it's part of superior humanity to avoid attachment, but maybe you want to pen it down. Maybe that's a show by itself.
Sure.
Maybe we could dedicate a week to attachments. Maybe, I don't know. So Rafi has mixed. Faisal, you've had your heart broken so many times, you've gotten used to it. No, I haven't had my heart broken so many. No. I had my heart broken only once.
He's broken the hearts, Rafi.
I have actually. I regret to say, regrettably, I have. And I go back and say, listen, if I was so good that if my departure broke your heart, you should have worked harder and making sure that I didn't leave.
Right.
Because now you're just bullshitting. Your heart didn't break. You're bullshitting. You're just hurt that, I got away. You're not hurt that I got away. If you know what I mean.
Right. I do. Yeah, for sure.
Rabia Kabir, you're new. Welcome. And after breakup, break his head. Well, excuse me? Really? Well, break her. Whatever, man. Come on. That's just not on. And you're saying that to two men. Oh, come on, girl. Okay, Sean.
Hey, Sean.
Mate of yours?
Talking about a physical pain that should be fairly easy to manage. Yeah, Sean, you know what? I'm just going to, I appreciate the comment. I'm just going to disagree, because I think that, the physical pain physical pain typically heals. Emotional pain can heal, but it takes a different process. Whereas in physical pain, a lot of times we just have to give it rest and time and so forth. Whereas, emotional pain is very challenging. You're not talking about physical pain.
He has multiple comments to see them, yeah. The only thing you should do is move forward with an open mind and understand that the only constant, absolutely.
I totally agree. Yeah, change
also
is always going to happen.
That you guys are talking about is not necessary. Folks that aren't in the relationship will draw their own conclusion with or without your input. Okay.
Yeah, let's we'll talk next time we'll talk next time we see each other, Sean.
All right.
Probably pretty soon. At least maybe this weekend. Thank you.
Bushra says, I hate breakups when you're in love. When else would you have a breakup? Are there any other kinds of breakup? The heartbreak is just unbearable. Heartbreak. You know what? COVID, one of the symptoms is a broken heart syndrome. You can actually Google it. That's a physically broken heart. Other than that, I never understand a broken heart. No. I mean, okay, fine. You know what? When you're in love, you have a breakup. Before the breakup, there is a process. You just don't wake up one morning and say, sorry, I'm gone. No, you have a process of detachment, of aggression, of fighting, throwing shit at each other, calling each other names. that is the time when your heart should be broken. That is the time when you should, Dennis, am I wrong? You have more experience than I have. Breakups don't happen all of a sudden. There's obviously a bunch of red flags which go up. They're orange flags, they're red flags which go up. So were you sleeping when those flags went up?
Well, I'm gonna just get in my work when I end up working with a couple and somebody's like, it just totally took me out of surprise, and I'm like, then you weren't paying attention. Then you weren't paying attention. I mean, it's just true. I mean, there's always signs of this. There's we can pick up on it. I think a lot of times what happens is that we just don't want to acknowledge it, because if we acknowledge something, well, now something has to change. Right? I mean, if we wanted to, I think a lot of times things don't get brought up in a relationship. One, either because it doesn't get seen. Two, is if we bring it up, then we have to address it. If I address it, it's going to be the same thing, and I'm going to be in pain. And so we hunker down, and we just like, oh, please don't leave, please don't leave. And then they leave, and everybody's like surprised why. It's like, well, because we neglected it. I mean, again, I'm just going to say, the grass isn't greener other places. The grass is always greener where you water it and nurture it and tend to it. Please. Also,
when the flags go up, a lot of people think, oh, it's not going to lead to a breakup. I can push this relationship. I can push the envelope. She hasn't left me in 10 years. She won't. Or where will she go? I'm such a good catch. Or, the woman would think that he's so dependent on me. I will ruin him if he goes anywhere. And then when it does happen, I never thought he'd go away. They're right, actually, when they say it took them by surprise, because they actually have this ego telling them, he can't go. She's not going anywhere. We've got him. And we have 3 children, Now he's not going. The thing is, so when it does happen, yes, they're right. It does take them a surprise because they were playing the fool's game.
Well, and you're always going to set yourself up to fail or have that heartbreak when you consider your significant other a prisoner in the relationship. Like, I don't understand that. I don't understand that thought process. Why would you want somebody in life that is like beholden to you in some way? And kids, I don't know, I hear that too. Coming from the background I have, I came out fine. I'm from a broken home, a divorced family. Truthfully, I look back at the divorce and I wish my parents would have divorced like 5 years sooner. I probably wouldn't have been the basket case I am, because I didn't have to witness their gross dysfunction and bullshit. So, there's Bushra goes on to say, I agree. Bushra, the only thing I'm going to say, and listen, I'm a linguist, and so like this kind of, I get stuck on words, and that's all this is opinion and semantics here that I'm playing. But for the dysfunctional relationship, listen, I understand what you're saying. I don't like the word dysfunctional. I think people can be dysfunctional. I think relationships can be dysfunctional. But I also think that it comes down to sometimes that it's not necessarily a dysfunction. It's simply a matter of like, it just isn't working. So like I might have a certain behavior. This is the example I'm using is I might like have a certain behavior that my current partner doesn't like. And because of that becomes a dysfunction. But I can find somebody else that's like, oh, too cool. I do that behavior also. We're like a match made in heaven. So one person's dysfunction isn't necessarily another one. So that's contextual. I agree with what you're saying. I just don't like the word. And again, that's opinion. But thank you.
Well, thank you, Bushra. We enjoy your presence too. Thank you for watching.
Oh, you just did that one. Your craziness. Yes, Bushra, as I put on my post yesterday, namaskar. The crazy in me honors the crazy in you.
Okay. Mr. Kaf says, I differ with Javed. The relationship's only painful. What? When a man doesn't? Oh, come on.
I don't know.
This whole gender should just...
When a man doesn't know what to do?
This is that red button when you press, I will fucking go off and I'm going to ignite like TNT, man. This whole gender thing just pisses me off.
Yeah, it's not a gender thing.
Says Julia, I am the epitome of Leos. I am the ultimate. I'm a Leo, born in the Chinese year of dragon. It doesn't get worse.
Bushra, love this. Thank you. Again, this is brilliant. because I think that we need to think about this in too many ways. This is why I don't like marriage, okay? Truthfully, I don't like marriage because we still associate too many things like property and chattel and all these other negative things. So, like, for me, I totally believe in the autonomy. It's because when we are separate, we can come together for to create outcomes. We're coming together purposefully as opposed to out of obligation. Anytime obligation is involved, there's always setting things up to be resentment and so forth. So autonomy, perfect. And again, autonomy, this is exactly what I was talking about a few weeks ago when I said I don't go into April's purse without her permission. It's simply a matter of that allows her to be an independent person without feeling like somebody's watching over her shoulder. So I love that comment. Thank you.
2 comments. Bushra says, Bushra says, what?
Bushra says, FQ needs some Prozac.
Nah. I am your Prozac girl. Okay, okay, Bushra says, sorry, I'm talking too much. You guys don't... No, Bushra, there's no such thing as talking too much. We live for user interaction. We live for your comments. So please, never hold back. Let it come. You know, really,
and
please.
You know what? The beautiful thing, Bushra, we don't have to agree on everything. And please know, like, this is, like, FQ and I, this is a total safe place for people to come in and disagree about the topic at hand. I mean, if you're going to come in and disagree and just take pot shots off of stuff from 10 years ago, then no, we'll block you. But, like, no, please do. We don't have to agree. And, in fact, we respect disagreements.
Okay, I think that after the breakup, we need to look inside and love yourself. It's not meant to be, and better things are in store, and we need to be patient, and it will heal. Amen to that.
Yeah,
Bushra, Rafia, thank you for waking up. I was missing you. The best way to get over a breakup, burn everything you have in memory X, and spend the day eating ice cream and block his number. You know, a friend of mine, this is true story. True story, a friend of mine, a very famous TV personality in Pakistan, had a breakup. And you know what? She put on 20 pounds just to show him that who's better. And then she goes, yeah, that didn't work out because I can't lose these 20 pounds now. So she became big just because she was trying to get back at him for breaking up. How stupid.
And you know what? Anytime we try to get revenge, it'll always come back to haunt us tenfold. Every time. And I speak from experience. I used to love revenge. I loved revenge. Oh, but it's just so exhausting,
revenge is such
man.
Revenge is childish and stupid. Like,
totally.
You wasting good time after bed? Fuck him.
I absolutely did. Wasted.
You have to look at the bigger picture. Hey, a normal comment from Rafia. You have to look at the bigger picture in a relationship, like what caused that one person to walk away, and how can they make sure the baggage doesn't come in the next one. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rafia. Love you.
Rafia,
that's it.
Thank you. You're brilliant. Thank you.
Faisal, now I see why you and me clash. I'm Aries and you're... Sweetheart, I do not clash with anyone. I'm a Leo. No one's good enough for me to clash with. I'm sorry. I'm a dragon. I'm born in the year of dragon, 1964.
Gosh, that's too funny.
Come on, you really want to clash with a dragon? Get out of here.
This is the one I wanted to see real quickly. Okay. No. Oh, yeah. What are your thoughts about women testing a man? I don't know. I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't think either partner should be. I don't think either partner should be testing the other one. I mean, like that's just. I think that's when we test. So when we test someone else, we're setting ourselves up to fail. It's kind of like people ask me questions and they're like, "Oh, Dennis, I have this question for you." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Do you really want the answer to that? Do you make sure you really want the answer to that? Because once you know it, you can't be taken back. And once you know the answer, you're gonna have to make different choices than what you're doing now." And I get a lot of people going, "Yeah, well, never mind." Yeah, because they think it's so simple. So stop testing each other. I don't like that at all. Thank you.
Three quick comments. Rafia says, Faisal, I live for revenge and pettiness. You're just Satan's child. Irfan Afzal, when you try to get revenge from an ex, then the ex still has you by your jewels. Thank you very much. There you go.
Yes, absolutely.
There you go, I guess, man.
Okay, and I'm just going to say, Bushra, absolutely 100%. Thank you for putting this in here. If you have to test somebody, you know the answer. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, great conversation today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Yeah, we might not be coming live tomorrow because Dennis has to counsel another broken relationship. And if any of you are having trouble in your relationships, in your work, in your business, please contact us, contact Dennis, contact me for any private sessions, counseling, or what was the other one, man? Counseling and
Coaching.
Therapy.
Yeah.
If you want therapy, you go to Dennis. If you want counseling, please don't go to him. You're going to fire him anyway.
Yeah, if you want therapy, you will fire me. Because I'll just come right out and say it. As a therapist, and this is why my last clinical director asked me to leave, is because I am a terrible listener.
So come to me for counseling. I'll counsel you. Then get you ready for therapy. And then I'll get you ready for a therapy and send you to Dennis.
If you need a hug, go to FQ. If you need a little kick in the ass to get out of your own way, come to me. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Have a good night. See you day after tomorrow.